RP here. Creepypastas. Internet horror stories that are equivalent to campfire stories, formerly called copypastas because of them being copy and pasted all over the internet, often being either urban legends, myths, or straight up horror stories to share and scare with others. Today, I'm listing out some of my personal favorites involving the creepypasta universe. And no, I won't be counting gaming pastas or MLP pastas. Those are for separate videos, and I won't count Pokepastas either because I already did a list for those. Comment your favorite creepypasta in the comments below, and let's do this! Jeff the Killer. Okay, save your Jeff the Killer fangirl jokes for the next time I embarrass myself. The OG story goes as Jeff and his family moving into a new neighborhood, and Jeff suddenly gets weird headaches. Later, he and his brother Lou are waiting for the bus when they get jumped by Randy and his goons, Keith and Troy, to which Jeff violently beats the crap out of them, and he enjoys it. The next day, Lou takes the blame and the officers arrive and arrest him, and Jeff and his parents attend a neighborhood kids party to get their minds off of all that's happened, only to later get jumped by Randy and his goons again at the party, and he kills Randy and injures the other two, and even gets heavily burnt, bleached, and injured super badly himself. Eventually, Keith confesses, and Jeff is released from the hospital with a pure white face, jet black hair, and he finally loses it. His mom later finds him burning off his eyelids and carving a smile into his face, telling his father to get the gun, and Jeff jumps them and kills him instantly, and later kills Lou with his catchphrase, "Go to sleep," putting his victims to sleep, if you will. There is a rewrite version, but sadly the story was beyond saving after this mess. And yes, I was one of those fangirls. You know, the ones who believe they could seduce Jeff to avoid getting murdered. But let's be honest, someone who looks like me could never seduce someone like Jeff, no matter how hard we try to. Moving on. Slender Man. This one is one of the more well-known stories. After an image on the Something Awful forums on either Reddit or 4chan, the story of Slender Man tells of him being a tall, pure white faceless man dressed in a full suit and tie, and is said to take away children and for them to never return. God knows what he does and where he takes the kids he steals. He's like the modern day boogeyman. This thing inspired 2 kids to murder their friend! And there's a badly made movie about him in 2018. It was horrible. I never watched it. But the writers and directors should have done better. Marblehorns is always watching, seemingly did better, and that was 3 years before the Slender Man movie came out. And these were YouTubers! YouTubers made a better movie than Hollywood. But I think the Slender craze died out along with the Jeff the Killer craze. Also, if anyone makes a Jeff the Killer movie, or is thinking about it, please don't make a repeat of the Slender Man movie. Please. The Rake. I believe this also inspired a movie around 2016 or 2018, somewhere around that range. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the same year the Slender Man movie premiered. The Rake is a story of a humanoid-looking creature that's tall, pale, hairless, and usually on all fours, like some type of animal, and is said to have incredible speed. This thing freaks me out for a lot of reasons. From its origins, to its description. What even is the Rake? Is it a demon? Is it part of the SCP Foundation? A horrible experiment gone wrong? Just what the hell is this thing? 1999. 1999 tells the story of a blogger recalling his memories from that year. He specifically remembers a show called Mr. Bear's Cellar, in which the particular character, Mr. Bear, hosted a show on a local public access broadcasting channel. And this is where things slowly get dark. Apparently, Mr. Bear was under a heavy investigation for certain episodes filmed on his tapes that involved the murdering of children. The story ends on a cliffhanger with the blogger mentioning an email he received from Mr. Bear. Supposedly, at least. When are we gonna get an update on this story? Did Mr. Bear get arrested and his name revealed? Did he get the death penalty for his crimes? Sadly, the world may never know. Purple balloons. This one is almost kind of sweet in a dark way. The story tells of a girl who has an abusive stepmother, and she tries to run away with her and her father in the car, and suddenly, car crash! She then hallucinates a character named Candy Pop, who is a demon clown, similar to Laughing Jack, minus child murdering, offering her a purple balloon, and things turn dark quickly. Candy Pop's expressions go from sweet to sinister, and the girl is seemingly levitated by the balloon that's seemingly glued to her. And then, the girl wakes up from what appears to be a coma from the car accident. 3 months passed, and the girl and her father started a new life away from the stepmother, and Candy Pop appeared offering her a new balloon. Candy Pop may seem sweet and kind, but in reality, he's very sinister and enjoys the suffering of his victims. Smile.jpg. This one isn't all that scary, and I don't know why, but it's not. This one is an urban legend about a chainmail image of a smiling husky with humanoid teeth and a bloody mangled hand. If you don't share the image, it gets progressively worse. Some say it even started with an image of the devil. I'm not one for these kind of stories, but I think Smile Dog is actually kind of cute and a little bit funny. He's just a hellhound doing his job by scaring and cursing people. Okay, that sounded a lot better in my head. Mr. Widemouth. This story is creepy for all the right and wrong reasons. Mr. Widemouth is a story about a bedridden 5-year-old diagnosed with mononucleosis and appears to have an imaginary friend, Mr. Widemouth. He usually just talks and hangs out with him, and things seem innocent at first. But this is a creepypasta. It's not all innocent. Mr. Widemouth tries to convince him to do things that the kid knows can kill him, like jumping out of a window and imagining a trampoline is at the bottom, juggling knives, and even trying to convince the kid to follow him into a wooded area. The kid faces all these things, and several years later, finds out the horrible truth. The house was burnt down years ago, and finds the trail Mr. Widemouth spoke of, only to find it as a memorial cemetery for several young children. What the hell did Widemouth do to these kids? Laughing Jack. Another child murderer! Lovely. Laughing Jack first starts out as an imaginary friend for a boy named Isaac. Growing up in a broken home and in an abusive family, one Christmas Day, he receives a gift of a Jack-in-the-Box, and Laughing Jack appears all colorful and friendly. But then an incident happens with a cat, and Isaac is sent away to boarding school, but promises to visit Jack as soon as he comes back, and Jack promises to wait for him. Years pass on, and Jack loses his colorfulness and obtains his signature monochrome color scheme. Isaac returns home as a cold-blooded, heartless serial killer, often killing and torturing neighborhood residents. Jack's horrified at first, but soon molds a similar personality and gains his dark, demonic personality of his own. Jack then later kills Isaac and gains the routine of befriending children and luring them into being murdered, one of which happened to be the son of a single mother, whom was framed as her son's murderer. Laughing Jack is like Pennywise, the Joker, and the Powerpuff Girls' Mr. Mime, all put into one crazy demonic fusion. And it doesn't help that his signature song, Pop Goes a Weasel, plays in the background to torment his victims. Come Play With Me. This one is heavily trigger-inducing for child sexual abuse and incest survivors. So for those of you who are under that category, turn away now or skip to the timestamp of this video. If you decide to stay, don't say I didn't warn you. I'll give you a few seconds. You still here? Okay, I warned ya. The story tells of the Williams family, mainly centering around the character Sally. Around the ages between 6 and 12, theorized to be about 7 or 8, depending on who you ask in the fandom. Her Uncle Johnny comes for a visit, and things get dark fast. Johnny sexually abuses Sally upon the first night of his visit, and tells her that it's a game, quote-unquote, Literally everything a pedo says to a child, related or not. Her mother immediately notices Sally's sudden change of behavior right away, and like any good mother does, asks her what's wrong. Sally tells her, "He touched me, I didn't want to play his game." Her mother comforts her and tells her it was all a bad dream, then goes to her husband to tell of the situation. Johnny then suspects Sally told on him and goes to run an errand and takes Sally with him, stopping in a faraway area away from any witnesses, telling Sally she didn't play the game right, and ends up murdering her. I can honestly only imagine the guilt, grief, and regret her parents felt, and how much hatred they felt for Johnny as soon as they found out and immediately suspected him. Sally is now said to be a mischievous ghost child, doing most things all ghost kids do, being a spiritual little troublemaker, but sometimes with a bad temper and quick to anger, even going as far as to haunt and scare her uncle to death in his jail cell. She now resides at her old home, playing with other children and scaring adults. I can imagine she scares mostly pedophiles and various other child abusers. Definitely a creepypasta character I can kinda get behind if she scares and murders child abusers and pedophiles. Me personally, I'm actually scared of kids, but at the same time, I care very much about their safety and well-being, of course. I want to give a quick honorable mention to the Russian sleep experiment, a story that takes place in the events of World War II, with scientists experimenting on various subjects to see what happens when you lack sleep. One of the subjects slips into insanity and turns into a zombified creature and utters his last words as he dies, so nearly free, or finally put to rest, depending on who you ask the fandom once again. But this one beat our Russian sleep experiment for this particular reason, and that is Zolgo. Okay, after this one I'm done. Zolgo was originally a horror meme from the Something Awful forums in 2004, of different comics and images being possessed and turning into horrifying images with a messy block of text, with characters' eyes blackened out and seemingly bleeding, and acting as if some demonic presence is possessing them. He can even be recognized as the character knowing he's here. Or approaching by saying, "He comes." The character Zolgo himself is often seen as a devil-like character in the creepypasta fandom, often known as He Who Waits Behind the Walls and the Nesperdian hive mind, said to be an eyeless creature with a set of 7 mouths speaking in different tongues. It's also said when the apocalypse comes, the 7th mouth is said to sing the following song when Zolgo arrives at the world's end, to invoke the hive mind representing chaos, invoking the feeling of chaos without order, the Nesperdian hive mind of chaos, Zolgo, he who waits behind the wall, Zolgo. And also, Zolgo often plays the villain in most creepypasta stories and comics, so yeah. Zolgo's freaky as hell, and if a demon like this does exist, please call an exorcist and say a bunch of prayers because we don't want Zolgo as our new god. Alright, that's another list done, and that's all the time I have for this video. Comment me your favorite creepypastas in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one, pups. Cue the outro. RP is out. Sweet dreams.